Hi everyone, my name is Omyra Bennett. I'm from the School of Black Hawk Tech in Wisconsin, and today I'll be discussing the multicultural dimensions of helping and how they apply to the real world, to a real world case scenario involving a Native American family. I'll start by explaining each stage of the multicultural dimensions of help. So I'll start by just explaining each stage in depth, and then I will show how each one can be used to support the family in the case scenario. Stage 1 is awareness. So to me, awareness means recognizing, their own culture and their own cultural background, and how that can be perceived by others. So it's really about being honest with myself about any biases that I might have and being open to learning about this new culture. So like an example would be if I grew up in community schools where this attendance and the immunizations were strictly enforced. Like, I had to have them. I might initially view the mother's actions, which was she didn't believe in it and she was very eccentric. I would view them as neglect. But that awareness helps me to pause and ask, is this a cultural difference? So within the case scenario, the mother's resistance to immunizations and the formal schooling system, so they may stem from cultural beliefs and the mistrust of these institutions and everything. So as a social worker and everything, I need to be aware of this and avoid making the mistake of making assumptions. Stage 2 is called understanding. Understanding is about learning the values, the history, and the traditions of the other cultures. So it's just not, knowing the facts, like bing, bang, boom. It's about, the empathy and the context of these other cultures. So as an example, I might read about Native American history and learn how the forced assimilation and loss of tribal identity has created deep mistrust toward governmental systems, which is something we wouldn't have. So putting this for the case scenario, it would be understanding that Native American families might have different views on education, and that healing helps me. So this would help me approach the mother with, more compassion and understanding rather than going straight to judgment. So her non-compliance to these certain things that we would think are normal might be from a cultural resistance and not just a defiance to these rules and regulations. Stage 3 is called development. So development means building the skills to work effectively across cultures. It's about adapting my approach to meet needs of the diverse clients that I would be working with. So an example would be I might learn how to use culturally responsive communication or involve tribal leaders in my service planning. So then in the case scenario, to put this into perspective, it'd be instead of pushing the standard welfare forms that I would have to, I would work with a tribal legion to help the mother access services and certain things that make her feel respected and stuff that she's familiar with for these certain things that we would think were different and weird. So, but then I also might recommend like alternative education. So not standard going in school and everything. Maybe like an online school or, homeschooling groups. So, and then these would honor her children's cultural history and identity and her wants for the education. And then stage 4 is action. So action is where, everything will come together. It's about advocating for culturally appropriate services and then making all of that into a real change, right? So for an example for that, I might push for policy changes that allow for more flexibility in how, services are delivered to Indigenous families and those who have different cultures from us. So, involving in this case scenario, I would ensure that all interventions align with the Indian Child Welfare Act, which protects Native American children's rights to stay connected to their culture. And then I'd advocate for educational support, substance abuse treatment for the mother, but that also would include, cultural healing, and then housing assistance through the tribal programs. Those are just a couple of things that I would do. But, in summary, multicultural inventions of helping, the awareness, understanding, development, and action are essential tools for working with diverse populations. In this case, they help us move, beyond surface level solutions and create a plan that respects the family's culture while addressing their needs.